Good morning. I am a California conservative. I'm on the 605 this morning, on the way to work again. And every day I think about when California is going to become conservative again. I mean, honestly, we do have a lot of grassroots conservatives here in California. And it's just really a matter of time before we gain momentum here and begin to vote conservative. And so I wanted to start making videos about conservatism in California. And so this marks the first video of this channel, which I plan on calling California Conservative. And I would hope that this would be the start of a movement that others would take up, that we would all begin to vote conservative to correct the situation here throughout our state. And I feel that we've gotten to the point now where the liberal aspects of our politicians, you know, the choices that they've made, I feel like their party is imploding. I feel like they are destroying themselves at this point, because they've driven the conservative totally out of the political arena to the point where there's nobody else to attack, and so they just turn on each other. And so I see that happening. All the regulations that are occurring here are beginning to bite the hand that feeds them. Like it's like they're hurting the very people that are supporting them now. So with that, you know, I believe a lot of liberals are going to start to really realize that in order to bring balance back to our state, that there is a need for more conservatives, you know, in Sacramento. As it stands right now, they pretty much just vote in whatever they want. And as of this January 2020, a lot more regulations. And I pretty much foresee a lot of lawsuits coming forward. The problem being, of course, though, is that we have quite a bit of liberal judges in California. And so it's going to require these cases to go up to higher courts, and hopefully we'll see some of these cases go up to the Supreme Court, which is more conservative at this point. And so we might see some things being changed with that regard. Some laws in California that are going to be deemed unconstitutional, of course. And so I look forward to that. If I had my choice, I would leave the state. I would leave California. But like many of us here, it's not an option at this time. But for those who who can, they're leaving California. There's no reason for them to stay. I mean, there's too much of a divide now between the working class and the upper class. And so now what we have essentially is, the way I look at it, I once viewed myself as a middle class, but now I see myself as working class. So, and then even below me, I see poverty. So we have poverty level, then we have the working poor, then we have middle class, then we have the upper middle class, and then we have the upper class, the elites. And what we're seeing right now is that the middle class is being pushed out. The middle class that chooses to stay in California, they're becoming the working poor. And that's what I am essentially becoming. But we're making decisions to survive, however much longer it's going to take to vote in conservative politicians in this state, because we don't really have a choice to leave here yet. It has to get to the point where it's just so bad, which it already is, that our families, those that we're responsible for, that we all come together and say, yeah, let's all move together and let's all leave and find a better, somewhere better to go, and it's happening like this all over the nation. I mean, there are a few areas that are a little bit better to live in with less, regulation, less taxation, and more freedom of expression. And so we're seeing this mass exodus from California right now, which is kind of funny because every time of course, California, the official stats of California is like, they're trying to justify that their influx of people is somehow still greater than the amount of people going out. I don't know what the numbers are, but all I know is that accounting and numbers like that, they're always changing, they're always fluid, and the numbers don't always mean one thing. So, that's the conservative way of viewing it. It's like, we don't always take things at face value. And so basically, from within the conservative side of looking at it, yeah, a lot of conservatives are leaving the state, and we want to leave, and we hate it here. But the reason that we hate it is because of the liberal policies, and the lack of freedom of expression. When I go to work, I don't talk about my conservative values. I don't talk about who I vote for. I don't get involved in political conversations because it's not a good thing for people at work to know your political leanings, because then they develop an unconscious bias towards you, and then it's just not a good situation. In California, you can't really talk openly in most workplaces about conservative values. And that's really a sad situation, because conservatism is what built the human civilization. And now, we have the liberal agenda that is just thinking that they're going to somehow sweep aside the orthodox thinking and the conservative morality within a generation or two. And I think what we're seeing is just the continued failure of ignoring boundaries and laws. You know, that's one thing that I've noticed, is that I feel like a lot of liberals are really sincere people, but there's a greater agenda by elite socialists, communists, worldwide globalists that really take advantage of the sincerity of people. And they get them to buy into this idea of changing certain laws or views that they deem to be wrong or unlawful. Okay, so essentially they begin to see the current laws as despicable or irreputable or not worthy of keeping, and then we get a bunch of politicians starting to say things like, that they're going to stand against the federal government with regards to, being sanctuary city, like the fact that LA is a sanctuary city for illegal immigration. It just goes against the laws of the land, and then they begin to create other laws that are in contradiction with current standing laws, and that's where the system begins to fall apart. Anyway, I'm a California conservative. God bless you. Have a good day.